You know, we know a ton about what the astronauts on the International Space Station do on a day-to-day basis.
Research, keeping the station maintained and keeping themselves maintained and healthy, that kind of thing?
Exactly, but we know precious little about what they do with their spare time.
Well, how much spare time do they actually have?
Now, this is an interesting question. Get this, on the Skylab 4 mission, the astronauts got so kind of crushed by the amount of work that they were required to do that they took what would be politely referred to as a French leave.
A French leave?
They played hooky. The thing is, NASA now builds free time into the astronauts' schedules. So what do they do with that time?
Well, there's only one way to find out. We ask our guy in space.
All right.
Hey guys, I hear you have a question about life here on the International Space Station.
Indeed. We were wondering what a typical day in space is like for you. What do you do with your spare time?
Most of the time, we get up about 6 in the morning, have a little bit of time for prep in the morning. You work all day, grab lunch where you can. We try to have dinner together. There's planning meetings with the mission controls all around the world. And then in the evening, maybe have a little bit of time off. On the weekend, you clean the laboratories, you get ready for the week, catch up on email, catch up on sleep. You exercise 2 hours a day. It's a busy place, but we do have a little bit of spare time. Maybe play a little music, maybe look out the window and take photographs, or maybe play a game like, I don't know, play Scrabble or something.
Wait. You actually play Scrabble in space?
Yes, we can play Scrabble in space. Just keep it velcroed to the wall or the ceiling. But we also play a game called Space Darts.
Space darts?
I would think darts would be dangerous on the space station.
Yes, regular darts with the high speed and the heavy weight and the sharp point would be a bad idea here on a space station. But because we're sort of weightless, we're in a microgravity environment, you can make darts quite different. So here's what I designed. You take a heavy weight at the end, in this case it's just a camera battery, and you stick a piece of Velcro on the end. Then you use tape to put a couple zip ties on it, and then just a piece of paper as the feather on the end. And this becomes a space dart, and you can throw it really slowly, and it'll be nice and stable.
You think you have any room for more games that only work in microgravity, Chris?
Well, yeah, sure. Do you have anything in mind?
I'm sure we can come up with something.
Oh, yeah. So games, I really like the way they've modified darts so that it's challenging and it can only be played that way in zero gravity. That is very, very cool.
Yeah, I was trying to think of other things that you could only do up there. And you know, golf balls, if you hit them right, you can get top spin on them and they go farther.
Tennis balls too.
I wonder if you could put together a little ball that you could spin and let it go almost slowly and see it curve.
Right. So it would be, instead of shooting shooting linearly for a target, you're shooting non-linearly for a target. So you've got to actually go, like, maybe you duct tape an obstacle,
exactly,
a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, and then the target's on the other side, and you have to actually curve your dart around the obstacle into the target. In zero G, you should be able to get plenty of a curve if you build a light enough ball.
I'm thinking something, you know, the size of a ping pong ball, and maybe, you know, maybe if you could drive a wire through the middle of it to where you could hold it with your fingers and then blow it to get it, you know, like a little turbine, and then you could just let it go and watch it, you know, slowly go around your target.
That is a great idea. You want to try and put this together and maybe get Will and Norm to help?
Sure.
All right.
All right, Jamie, so on the International Space Station, Commander Hadfield, they have their Space Darts game, but they use a weighted object with Velcro. It's not real darts. So for our game, they actually don't have balls, no ping pong balls, no baseballs. How are we gonna make something for them?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and they do have tape, and so if you pull off strips, you know, rather than just making a random ball, you
clumping it up.
Yeah, and clumping it up, you can actually twist this stuff and end up with a kind of a string that you can then coil into spiral shapes that you know, will allow you to more precisely control the ball, the shape of the ball, as well as it'll allow you to put an axle right down the middle. If you make a ball that is just big enough for you to hold between your two fingers, and if you put a little textural something like little paddles or something, you can hold it that way and blow on the side of it. You could probably get it spinning quite nicely. That's actually pretty cool.
That's really cool, yeah. That worked out really well. That's awesome.
If you can imagine where this is just sitting there in space and there's no friction from my fingers on the axles, it should continue for a while, and you just kind of launch it off and maybe it curves.
There you go. These paddles work perfectly. And you just wrap duct tape around it, and it's a paper clip going through it. You did have to crimp the top and bottom.
Yeah, that's the only trick with it, is if you have to have some needle nose pliers, because with that I can actually hold it in my fingers and not get drilled.
Right.
And I would love it if they had a little jet of air somehow, because then they could really get it to spin. I presume that these little flaps here are kind of like the dimples on a golf ball, or these things when a...
Exaggerated seam of a baseball.
Yeah, when somebody does a curve ball, those things are, I believe, what creates the curve. So in theory, it ought to work, and it ought to only work in space.
So Commander Hadfield can test that for us, and let's write up the plans and send it over to space.
Okay.
Hey, Jamie. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Chris.
So this is what you guys asked me to build in order to play a new game here on Space Station. So I thought it would be good if you just follow me around as I collect the bits and go through the process of building this thing here in my orbital laboratory. Come on. 2-inch tape. Perfect. So I really enjoyed the game you guys came up with. I assembled it. It was close to your assembly instructions. I think close enough to meet the objectives. Had to substitute a couple things, but I ended up with a fairly good ball of tape, and then the paddle wheel arrangement here in order to give it different propulsion on the top and the bottom, just like the paddle wheel spinning, or in this case against the air. I substituted the central axle drive shaft here just because of the materials available, but it worked okay. I figured out that the way you suggested, blowing on it to spin it up, that was the best way. It's very difficult to get a nice straight vector out of it here, but what I did, I think you could definitely see that it curved. But to turn it into a reliable game, I think there's too much shotgun spatter to try and get your initial launch vector to be able to get good at accurately curving it over something. I think the basic idea works, and it's kind of a fun game to have on board, fun thing to look at the physics of it, but I'm not sure it's going to catch on as a universe-wide sport.
Very cool. I'm really glad we were able to at least take some of your time in an interesting way.
Sure thing, guys. Glad to have you aboard. I think between, though, the 130 different experiments we're running all around the laboratories, the chance for board games, and space darts, and now space curveball, there's never any shortage of things to do here on the International Space Station. It's time to go make dinner. See ya.
Enjoy your dinner, Chris. Thanks. That is very, very cool.
It is.
Thanks to Chris, the International Space Station astronauts, the CSA, NASA, in fact, a whole host of people, which we're just about to put up on screen. In short, we are really grateful for the opportunity to come and play and talk about science of being in space. More space videos on tested.com. See you later.